Thanks, Christy. Thanks to Reed Corporate for putting on what I think is a tremendous event. It's a pleasure to be here presenting what I think is one of Australia's most exciting copper exploration and development opportunities. I come to these conferences and a theme that I often hear is, we're looking for copper exposure, we're looking for a good copper development opportunity. And, it's not easy to find, and I can attest to that. I worked for Sandfire Resources for 5 years. I travelled the globe looking for good opportunities for Sandfire, and as we've seen, they've gone to Africa, they've gone to Europe, and they've gone to North America for copper opportunities. And what I think, and when I joined Hammer, one of the more exciting copper opportunities is actually in the backyard here in Queensland. The Queensland Copper District, Mount Isa, this year is celebrating their 100th year in operation. In terms of Australian mining history, it's got tremendous experience in delivering value for shareholders, and that's why I'm pleased to be up here telling you the story. I'll let you read the disclaimer at your leisure. In terms of creating value for our shareholders, and that's why anyone here is listening to all of these stories is looking for an opportunity to create value. There's 3 opportunities within Hammer that I think present value creation opportunities. One's in the underlying value of the assets. Now, for an exploration company, that can only be your JORC resource. So, I'm really pleased last week we released a JORC upgrade, 40% increase in metal inventory at Kelman, some 500,000 tonnes of copper now in the portfolio, and I don't think that's recognised in our existing share price. The second path to deriving value is exploration success. As we've seen with many junior companies, exploration success drives great value. And the opportunity within Hammer is having the right ground with the right people exploring this ground to deliver that success and ultimate share price appreciation. And our team have a track record of doing it. And in terms of the right area, I don't need to talk much more about Mount Isa. And the third path that I'll talk about in terms of value creation is regional consolidation and M&A opportunities. I'll take you through some 7 transactions in the Mount Isa region in the past 18 months that illustrate the inherent value in this region. In terms of the team and backgrounds, Russell Davis and Ziggy Limonecki were the founding director and the exploration manager for Gold Road. So they found the Gruyere discovery and they have a tremendous track record of taking a company from sub $10 million market cap to billions of dollars. They're looking to replicate that here, and not only do they sit on the board, they hold 13% of the company. They've put in their own dollars into this company and they're firm believers in what the company can and will achieve. I mentioned before I worked for Sandfire for 5 years, and I joined the company on the back of the copper assets in Mount Isa and the tremendous opportunity. That transition for me now has been 3 years, and we've seen share price appreciation from 2.2 cents when I joined the company through to circa 7 cents today, and that is just the start of the journey that we're heading on. In terms of our projects, Queensland, 530,000 tonnes of copper equivalent metal, some 2,600 square kilometres of prime exploration in the Mount Isa district. And how do we have this ground? We have this ground because we picked it up when no one was doing copper exploration, no one was interested in Queensland. It enabled us to pick up a very strong portfolio of copper assets. In terms of regional assets and M&A that's happened recently, you've seen the Ernest Henry deal go through, the Eva Copper project picked up by Harmony Gold recently, Aeris coming in, picking up Mount Colin, Barbara, also Demetallica being sold to AIC Mines. You've seen the White Range Copper project trade hands from QMC to a listed company or pre-listed company here. And you've also seen True North recently acquire Mount Oxide from Perilia and the old Great Australia mine in Cloncurry. So demonstrating there is so much interest in this area and what's going on purely from a consolidation perspective, let alone from exploration potential. And we've seen a number of players in the area deliver great results and see great share price appreciation. So sitting here with that 500,000 tonne of copper equivalent metal in a portfolio, I think we're in a very strong position to further leverage that and, lead this area in terms of copper inventory and future development. In terms of Kelman, our Cornerstone asset, we released this resource update last week. The last time the resource was done here was 2016 when copper price was $4,600 per tonne and the molybdenum prices went $22,000. Both metals trading approximately double that value today. So it's no surprise we got a decent uptick in our resource. We drew it out of zone to the north, and when I sit here and look at it, the thing that I'm most interested in this deposit is the open pit potential here. North of 1% copper equivalent in an open pit, 27.7 million tonnes of ore resource there. And we look at that metric and it's roughly 300,000 tonnes of copper equivalent metal. When Sandfire acquired Mod Resources in Botswana, they had 340,000 tonnes of copper, albeit in a reserve. That transaction at the time was $160 million, and we trade today with a market capitalisation of 60. Sure, there's a journey to go through to get through a study phase, to get to a PFS and progress to having an ore reserve, but it gives you an idea of the type of value journey that I think we're on. The deposit is still open at depth, and there's still upside here with a number of near-field targets that we're looking to drill out. Molybdenum, not a lot of people can pronounce it, let alone understand what it is and what it's been used for. Historically been used in oil and gas pipelines, strengthening steel. It's going to have a very important role moving forward in green energy and the electric revolution that we're seeing. It's used in wind turbines. It's used for the support posts for solar panels. It has a very similar thematic to copper. Global grades are declining, supply is constrained, and when you get those dynamics, inventories decrease. Earlier this year, the molybdenum price doubled to over $100,000 per tonne. It trades today circa $50,000 per tonne. Kelman is the third highest grade undeveloped molybdenum project in the world, and that's the type of opportunity that exists in northern Queensland. I mentioned the resource update that we did here. We drilled a zone to the north and we found a fourth lens of mineralisation to the north that wasn't previously included in the JORC resource, and that drove a lot of that increase in the resource. We also drilled some holes there. You can see some pretty stunning intersections, 24 metres at circa 5% copper equivalent, broad intersections, 107 metres at 1% copper equivalent, and all of these intercepts are in an early open pit phase of the project, so all improving the potential economics moving the project forward. So that's why we're excited about this resource update. In terms of investor interest in this resource has been around since 2010, and it probably doesn't generate the excitement of a new discovery, but in terms of value opportunity, it should. I mentioned the exploration experience of the company, and we are explorationists at heart. We drilled 15 different targets in Mount Isa across that 2,600 square kilometres last year. Many of them had never seen a drill hole in their life, despite the region's prolific nature of producing big deposits. We've got 5 targets there, each of them with ore grade intercepts within them, most of them with fewer than 5 drill holes. The Hardway result there, we've just followed up with another 12-hole program, 1,800 metres of drilling, and I expect those results to be out soon. We'll drill South Hope, Mascot and Mascot Junction at the end of the month, and they're in and around Carnaby's recent success, very close to boundaries there, and it doesn't take a rocket scientist to see the potential there for consolidation of these asset bases. The Hardway system, a single drill hole. So this is typically what you'd see in Mount Isa. You'd see these old workings. They might have been worked in the early 1900s, late 1900s, when the copper price has gone high. These areas have been held under a mining licence for decades, never explored. And this is one such example last year that we drilled under. We drilled the first hole under here, 30 metres at 1.1% copper plus some rare earth mineralisation. This prospect, as I said, we just drilled another 12 holes here, stretching over 1 kilometre in strike extent, testing the extent of this deposit and looking for more mineralisation. I expect results from this drilling to be out early next week, so I'd keep an eye on that one. The Mount Hope region, for anyone following this region, you'll be very familiar with Carnaby's success at Lady Fanny, Nil Desperandum and Mount Hope. We hold very strong position through here. All of the lighter coloured areas here are all 100% owned by Hammer, and we have a very strong position in and around their recent discoveries, and I mentioned those prospects in and around here we've been drilling ourselves. So South Hope, just 600 metres away from the tenement boundary, the Stubby in nice and close, and then Mascot and Mascot Junction 5 kilometres to the east, all with good intersections last year. That drilling program will start at the end of the month, and we're looking to add more mineralisation here. In terms of Mount Hope itself, the Mount Hope mining lease is only 500 metres by 1 kilometre in extent. So Carnaby have had some great results there, and mineralisation is heading up towards the border and potentially will cross that border. But when you start thinking about developing a mine in this area with that sort of footprint, it's not hard to imagine that you need the surrounding ground to have maximise the economic development of that resource. So as a company holding 100% of the ground surrounding that mining licence, we're very comfortable that that ground will become more and more valuable as that project progresses. South Hope, just 600 metres away last year, we drilled a hole 25 metres at 2.4% copper. We're pretty happy with that. We followed up with a few holes, and unfortunately we didn't pick up the plunge component to the mineralisation, and our last drill hole at the prospect deviated quite severely, as you can see. But we have picked up an EM conductor here, and this will be one of our targets in our upcoming program, so I expect to see similar style of mineralisation through that EM conductor at depth. I'll change track, and it hasn't been a focus for us at all, but we're also exploring for gold in the West Australian Yandel region near the old Bronzewing mine. And one of the interesting prospects we picked up here last year was a lithium soil anomaly. So one of the curious things about where we are in the Yandel region, if you can see just roughly north of Bellevue here is the Kathleen Valley Liontown lithium asset. It sits on the western side of the Kathleen Valley granite, and the ground that we hold at North Aurelia sits on the eastern side of the Kathleen Valley granite. So last year when we picked up some lithium soil anomalies, we started to look through the database and what lithium results we might have from the region. And what we found in the bottom of our air core drilling, the only sample in each hole that we actually analysed for lithium was we found that we had 100 to 300 ppm in a whole bunch of the holes. So anything red or pink in the drilling in that zone actually had a reasonable grade of lithium in them. Looking further west, we picked up the pegmatite units that sit there. We've analysed them, and unfortunately they don't have lithium. But as I think we're all learning, these lithium deposits, the geochemistry within those pegmatites changes the further you get away from the granite unit. And the granites are fractionated, they look like the right rocks, and very curious lithium downhole results. So we'll be doing an air core program here later in the year and looking to try and pick up those pegmatite units and hopefully some lithium. What's coming up? We're a really busy company. So we have exploration results outstanding for Hardway. We have new drilling to be done at the Stubby, Mascot and Mascot Junction. We've got some large IOCG targets sitting out on the eastern edge of our portfolio that we'll be looking to advance and drill later in the year. We have a whole bunch of EM surveys where the data is currently being reviewed, and I expect a number of good targets to come out of that. In addition to that, we have joint ventures with Sumitomo Metal Mining and Glencore over our exploration projects in Mount Isa. So great partners, people that believe in the regional potential, much like Hammer does. So in summary, there's a lot coming up in terms of our resource update, which has been delivered. There's more work to be done there, more metallurgy to be done, more targets to be reviewed to the north of the deposit. There's the drilling results from Hardway. Watch this space this time next week, they should be out. In addition to that, we've got our Sumitomo Metal Mining JV program continuing, where they're funding exploration for the final year of that program. In addition to that, we'll be looking to advance our prospects in the Yandel region. With that, both myself and Russell are here. Please come and visit us at the booth and ask any questions, and thank you for your attention.